welcome to Final Whistle Weekly, another successful week for Wrexham. And well, I was just saying to Chay, for Chay Long is here with me, Mark Griffiths. It's like the good old days in his work dungeon. He had a dungeon at work, believe it or not. Just the two of us chewing the fat about Wrexham Football Club. Oh, it takes you back, doesn't it?
Oh, the caretaker's cabin in our old workplace. Yeah. And we were, talking about a lot of different times losing to different sides in empty stadiums. So it's crazy how long we've gone this last 4 years, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? I mean, it's amazing. Like you said, COVID and we were honoured, weren't we? It was amazing being in the racecourse when nobody was allowed to be in it, so we could do the commentaries. I mean, it was an incredible privilege and an honour to be able to bring those games to people too, wasn't it? But and hand in hand with podcasting, yeah, good days. But now's quite good too, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. It's all right, isn't it? Yeah. It's all right.
Well, we got some nice things to talk about in terms of the men's team being 90 minutes from Wembley, the women's team with this huge doubleheader coming up. We're going to have a look back at the 4 years of Rob and Ryan. It's going to be fun. This is Final Whistle Weekly. Well, look, first and foremost, a huge game at the Rock on Sunday. The women's team playing Swansea City, first half of an incredible doubleheader. So a week on Sunday, we go to Swansea City. And if we can win there, we will have pulled off the miracle of overtaking them, us finishing again in the top four when the season splits. First point we'd be in the top four this season would be the final whistle at the end of phase one, which feels like a lovely, sweet possibility. But first we've got this match, the quarter-final of the Bute Energy Welsh Cup. We got to the final of the Welsh Cup last time. We're in the quarter-final again now, and it's a big occasion. And isn't it great, Chay, that a team that has struggled a bit this season to get the results that their performances for me deserve, has finished strongly and has got itself now in a situation where they can achieve their big aim, top four, and can progress in the cup and have another tilt at it.
It would be a great recovery, wouldn't it? And I think if you ask Steve Dale at the start of the season if we're in this situation, I think he probably would have been a little bit disappointed that it wasn't already cemented, if I'm going to be quite brutally honest. But if we can progress in this tournament, maybe get to a final win, maybe even try and go for it and win a cup, and get into the top four, we'll be looking at the end of the season and be like, oh, yeah, that's a really good season, all things considered. I think the problem with the women's team this season is that they set such a high standard last season that I think it maybe was a bit tough on them to keep up those high standards. And to be fair, I think this season, the women's league is improved, I think, in many ways. I think the standards are high. Look, you've got to give credit to TNS this season. It really, really upped their game, haven't they, from last season? Not saying they were a bad side last season, but the women's league this year has been a lot more impressive, a lot more competitive. So yeah, huge game in the cup. But on the flip side, Mark, if we don't win it, maybe we can make some adjustments the next week for the league game then. So it's two huge games in the calendar for the women, isn't it?
100% correct. And I mean, Steve Dale and his coaching team are very good at those individual setups for games. Obviously, they've got underlying strategies and things they want to see from the team, but they'll put in little twists that can catch opponents out, and I really enjoy looking out for those. They're fascinating teams to watch. They 100% correct will learn from Sunday no matter what for that big league match.
Yeah.
And it will be terrific to get into that top four. You're 100% correct in what you've said. I mean, last season as well, we got in the top four so easily, which was, I think maybe, hopefully, people can see now just what a remarkable achievement that was in our first ever season in the top division. But yeah, this season, we've put in good performances. We haven't maybe been ruthless enough. We've dropped points. When we dropped the 2 points at Cardiff Met, it looked over. And we shouldn't have dropped those 2 points. But having said that, since then, we've scored 7 past Aberystwyth. We've beaten TNS. Wonderful Lily Jones goal. And we've teed this up for ourselves, where Swansea have wobbled, losing to Cardiff, drawing with Britain Ferry. And you're quite right. The standard at the top end is really good. Being Cardiff won everything last year, they're still very, very strong. TNS really recruited well in the summer and in January as well. And Britain Ferry have come in like an absolute whirlwind from the Adran South. Barry Town are massively improved and a very strong defensive team. So all in all, wow, it's been a very competitive league, and yet we are still in with a chance of getting in that top four, which is just fantastic. And to sustain that would be progress, which is something I think people are worried about. Are we progressing or not? Well, it would be, I think.
To an extent, though, here's a question. If, say, we progress on Sunday and we make it through to the semis, finals of this tournament, if we don't win on the league match, would it not be the end of the world if we go into the bottom tier of the when the split, so we can carry on, maybe have easier chance of winning, building that momentum to try and win the cup?
I think that's a fair comment. I would, hope that we would be stringing wins together, if we were in the bottom half of it. I think the frustrating thing is it would feel a bit like they're almost friendlies. I mean, there is a trophy. If you win the bottom half, you win the plate. I don't think anyone's motivated by that. A trophy for coming fifth is a peculiar concept to me. So it
if we stay in this if we stay in this trophy, if we stay in the cup, we stay in the cup, maybe dropping into the bottom half of the split isn't the end of the world to carry on with that momentum. Maybe that's a bit. Maybe I'm a bit wrong saying that the players obviously will want to win the cup and to get into that top four, but we've got to be looking at this cup we're in now. If we win that is progression, then, isn't it? That is real progression.
And I've got to say, I mean, I think that your point is valid. I think it's something that you might see in hindsight. Do you know what I mean? So afterwards, you win the cup after not getting in the top four, and then you think, wow, that momentum we maintained by winning and winning and winning, that is something which we, that helped us to keep going in the cup matches. You're still winning. But I don't think it's certainly not something you'd aim for, and it's not something that I think you'd plan for, but it could be a side effect of it all happening. I totally agree. Sometimes football's funny like that, isn't it?
Yeah. It has been quite a peculiar season, isn't it, for them this year? Because I wouldn't say it's unfair to call it a bad season, but I think the staff and the players themselves will be a bit disappointed that they haven't really truly progressed from last season. Really, if not, they stayed stalemate or dropped off a little bit. They will be a little bit frustrated. So look out Adrian Premier League for next season, because I think they'll be really guns blazing then, especially if we get a few additions.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been I mean, in terms of progress, like I said, maybe let's see how these two games go, because if we're in the semis of the Welsh Cup and we get in the top four, it's what we achieved last season for a start. We didn't compete for the title last season, but we were in the top four comfortably. This time the top four, I think the standard's higher. And if we got in there, if we finished, I mean, let's think about what would happen for us to do it. We finish above Swansea. That's a hell of an achievement. At the start of the season, a lot of good judges of the Adran Premier were saying that they felt Swansea had really invested well in the summer and they'd be better than Cardiff and win the league. And now we could finish above them. The other thing, of course, is if we're going to achieve this, we're going to have to beat Swansea. And we've still not beaten Swansea or Cardiff. I mean, my goodness, we've given them a hard time. We've given them such competitive matches, and there have been games at the end of last season and this season where we've looked better than them. With the Welsh
Yeah,
final last season most definitely being the case. We lost to Cardiff. We were the better team. We didn't take our chances. So,
yeah,
we could argue there is progress, but the headline progress doesn't look like it's been made, if that makes sense.
yeah. Maybe it's a bit of a mental stumbling. And you got to remember, Swansea and Cardiff the last 2 seasons have been really, really good sides. I think Cardiff are that
Yeah.
step above everyone else, aren't they? In all fairness, but I do think once we get a good win against one of them,
Yeah.
I think at some point we will. We will beat them both, and at some point we will end up winning the league. At some point, but it's a tall task for such a young side, isn't it? They haven't been together for that long, and the women's footballs, in Wales is a lot different to the men's game. You can't just pluck someone from down south of England, or you're relying on the quality that's up North Wales. Really, you might be able to pip a few people from TNS or maybe some of the English sides locally, but it's not as easy as the men's game, is it? Really?
Absolutely, it's a different kettle of fish. We're a different system, and it's difficult to take people out from England and difficult to get people from the south because they've got jobs. It's part-time league, so that money, as we've always said, with Rob and Ryan, doesn't get you as much as it would in the men's game. But we have got a really good setup, and that's the most important thing. We've got, the youth players. So I went to see the under-19s play on Friday, and there are some good prospects in that team as well. So there's an awful lot to be optimistic about, and so I think there is progress this season. But like I said, it's just been a bit frustrating. We've brought in 3 players in the summer, none in January. Those 3 players have all settled in and are very good players. But it took them, I would say, a couple of weeks to settle in, and that's not a problem. But obviously, in a league where there's only 14 games, a little slow start cost you. And we lost our first 3 games. Varying reasons. I mean, we were very unlucky against Cardiff. We were very, very unlucky against Swansea, and in between that, we had a bit of a nightmare at Britain Ferry. But it was a hell of a tough start to the season, and with maybe a couple of the new players just having to settle in a bit, it wasn't great. Plus, we had injuries at the start of the season, so all these different factors just set us off on the wrong foot. And since then, we've been building and doing better, and to outplay TNS like we did, because TNS turned up and played well. It was fantastic. I should say as well, I feel having said that about those 3, I should just explain what I mean. I mean, Abby Iddington comes in up front, and she is such a good sort of second striker, creative player, holds the ball up well, brilliant feet. She's a real class signing, and you can see why we went for her. But she signed quite late on for us, so it took a couple of games. She was a sub in her first 2 games when she got up to speed. So, we can't get full value out of her. Nat Clark, likewise, excellent player. Either a centre-back who can pass the ball or a strong midfielder. And her use of the ball is really, really good. I think at the start of the season, we were kind of deciding how to use her, and we had centre-backs injured. And, it wasn't easy for her to settle into the system because we maybe hadn't settled ourselves on the system, and she had different personnel alongside her. So once she's had more consistency of position, she's really good. And then Lizzie Craven, oh wow! I mean, the save she made against TNS, without that, Lizzie Jones scores an equaliser. She made an unbelievable save. She's really, I think, benefited working with Dave Williams, a coach, goalkeeping coach. And you can see how much more confident she is with the ball in the air. She's really good with the ball to her feet too. And the 3 of them have made a massive contribution. But, after the team made a slow start, and they made a slow start for reasons that are genuine, they are genuine reasons. And then, like I said, in a small numbered league, it's really hard to lose your first 3 games and then hit the hit the ground running, isn't it?
Yeah, and the Cardiff Met game was a tough one as well, wasn't it, to take? Yeah, I think we will be looking at this campaign if we get past Swansea in the next 2 games. Which that is a tall task, isn't it? They've got a lot to play for themselves, haven't they? You've said they've got a lot of pressure. They got a lot of pressure. They thought they'd be pushing Cardiff at the start of the season, and it looks like they're struggling to get into top 4 like us.
Yeah.
They're going to be really kicking themselves and wanting to push for that cup themselves, aren't they? And the top 4 spaces. So it's going to be really interesting to watch. It's 2 absolutely huge games. The 2 biggest games of the season, isn't it, against a quality side. So I really, really, really am hoping and praying that we can pull off 2 wins here, because it'd be so good to see, the progression. There's a lot of pressure, isn't there, on them to get some good results. So, fingers crossed for them.
Yeah, let's hope so. It'll be amazing if we pull it off. We'll take a little break, and then we'll have a chat about the men aiming at Wembley. And meanwhile, the men's team, we are 90 minutes from Wembley. Excited?
I am excited. Tough game on Tuesday. I've got to say, against Bolton. I think Bolton look very well organised. They started off really well. Again, heavily rotated sides, but to get past Bolton in such a tough game, and you got to give their fans credit. They were in great voice, weren't they, for Tuesday Vertu Trophy game? You got to give their fans a lot of credit for bringing them. They have Mark. 90 minutes in Wembley. I said it's going to be a trophy. I said from the start of the season, I said we've got the squad to push for this trophy to get to the final. It's really, really exciting. It wasn't the best of games on Tuesday, but it was a win, wasn't it?
I'm very pleased with that result. I thought we did really well. I mean, we rotated our side almost completely. Only Brunt was in the starting 11 against Crawley in the last league game. And then Bolton, well, I mean, they picked, 5 or 6 of the players who played in the league game on the previous weekend. And also one added, Thomason in, who would be their first team player. He just was suspended in the league. So that was a strong Bolton side. I thought they looked really good at the start and end of the first half. Genuine quality, the way they moved the ball around. But in the middle of the first half, I thought we looked good. And in the second half, I thought we looked a better team. Overall, we had more threat about us, put more pressure on them. So I was really pleased to have rotated our side and then look like that.
But this is why I've always said since the start of the season, this side will go far in this trophy because we don't have to play the starting 11. It's a testament, I think one of the secrets to our success this season is that if we lose a player, we have not like for like, but pretty much another League One, higher League One standard player coming in to replace him. We've changed the back three a lot this season. We've changed the goalkeeping position 3 times this season. We've had Brad Foster playing as well, haven't we? In this tournament, we have 2 good players at least in every position. So it's not hampering us too much. It's not getting involved with our league games too much. That's why I've always thought us and Birmingham will probably get to the final of this tournament, the Vertu, whatever it's called this day and age. But again, you are right. You keep on forgetting it was a heavily rotated squad from our last league game, and getting a win against Bolton at home is nothing to be sniffed at. The performance was decent. considering that obviously not a side that's played together often. George Evans hasn't played much football this season. Is looking absolute quality, and God, maybe looking at him maybe he's going to be looking pushing to get a first team place in the league as well, because you forget he hasn't really had much game time this season. But you forget how great George Evans was last season for us. So this squad we've got is absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, is there any performances that really stuck out for you?
Well, you've hit the nail on the head with one of them. Last couple of games, like last season, George Evans is playing like the king of football, isn't he?
He's such a classy, smooth player, isn't he?
Yeah.
He was man of the match for me, personally.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. He was terrific, wasn't he? And like in Port Vale, he's just getting the ball and pinging it around. He's so good at that, that progressive pass. The pass to Cannon for the goal was good. It's not spectacular, but it's just he's getting the ball in his own half deep, and his pass cuts out 4 Bolton midfielders and finds Cannon in space, and Cannon does the rest. It was beautifully executed. He's a class act, isn't he? It's lovely to see him getting up and running like that after that nasty injury as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he had a really good game. Cannon's finish again was textbook Andy Cannon, wasn't it? Yeah. If you're a Bolton fan, you'd like to think your goalkeeper would go for that a little bit more, in all fairness. But
I must be honest, at first when I saw it, I thought, "Ooh, is that deflected?" Because he doesn't move.
Yeah.
When you look at it, you think, "Oh, that hasn't been deflected," but I think it's just that he's put quite a lot of curl on it. He's hit it, and the keeper's thinking that's going wide. And he set it out going wide, but it's come back in. And I think by the time he's realised, it's like, oh, well, this is too late. Oh, well. Never mind.
Yeah. It's just, as a Bolton fan, if you're a Bolton fan, the visuals aren't very nice, so if you keep just stuck in the mud. You'd at least like to see him dive for it, wouldn't you? Maybe cover the post. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bit overly picky there. But it was vintage Andy Cannon yet again, wasn't it? Yeah. Again, another player who he has played a lot of football this season for us, but again, to have someone like Andy Cannon on the bench or in the squad or in the starting 11, again, another player who could be playing for any League One side. We've got many of player in this squad who could be playing for any other League One side, where I think a lot of the sides pushing for playoffs and things like that maybe don't have the squad that we have, where I think that could really help us towards the end of the season for our automatic promotion slot.
100%. That strength and depth is just a bit scary, isn't it? And it's often quite a fun thing just to get things into context by thinking back. How many of these players who can't get into our first team would be way too good for our first team when we were in the National League? Yeah, imagine George Evans in the National League pinging that ball around. That'd be a sight, wouldn't it?
Yeah. If you're looking back at that first season of Rob and Ryan in charge, the whole squad is that was a really good side as well. Yeah. We didn't get promoted. That was a really, really good side that probably would have done well in League Two. But yeah, there's plenty of players in this squad who would absolutely take liberties in the National League.
Yeah. And we just got to be professional, I feel now. Peterborough at home, they're not doing well. We're obviously favourites, but we've got to recall what they did when they came to the racecourse, and they gave us a hell of a hard time. We needed Stephen Fletcher to do his special little act, the late goal off the bench, but we needed that. So we've got to be focused and professional and remember that Peterborough pack a threat, but we are a side with terrific home form up against a side that's struggling.
Well, you look at Peterborough, they've taken a gamble on a lot of young players, haven't they, this season? And it's not worked out from, considering they were a side last year that got to the playoffs, didn't they? And to be fair, it looked like they were going to breeze past the first semi-finals. Were they like 4-2 up against Sheffield Wednesday in the first leg? And Sheffield Wednesday pulled it back. So they've had a bit of a disaster of a season, really, haven't they, on paper? So maybe they're going to maybe really go for this semi-final and maybe try and rescue and salvage something from their season. So we can't take Peterborough lightly at all. Look the way they played at home against us. That was a really, really tough game. So yeah, that is a big game, and I'm really interested to see how we line up for that one.
Exactly, something to look forward to, that, isn't it? Well, after this, we'll talk about other stuff. Who knows what? Well, my friends, 4 years of Bob and Brian. Wow. who knew, Che? I was going to call this episode The King of Football after George Evans, and now 4 years of Bob and Brian feels like it's a more likely title. Darn.
Well, I can't believe it's been 4 years. It's gone pretty. Let's take it back to, lockdown. What a crazy time for it all to happen. Looking back, Lockdown was in full swing, wasn't it? The world was going a bit crazy, and on top of that, 2 Hollywood superstars take over your local football club. You can't really write stories like that, can you?
I mean, I was going to ask you, what is, and it's a difficult question to answer, I think, because there's so much competition, but what's the maddest, most mind-blowing moments, do you think, of this whole caboodle?
Oh, God. So much has happened, doesn't it? From Will Ferrell being in the stadium and Channing Tatum drinking in the Fat Boar. That's pretty mind-blowing, isn't it? Let's be fair.
Yeah.
But I suppose the most mind-blowing part about that is like how normal it starts to feel. It's like, oh yeah, Channing Tatum's in the Fat Boar. It's like, oh, is he? Oh, nice one. No one seems bothered, do they, anymore?
Yeah, exactly so.
It's just like, oh, that's cool, isn't it? Channing, it's like it doesn't seem to. Oh, right, Ryan and Rob are walking around town, and it just doesn't seem.
Yeah,
like it is obviously a big deal. Don't get me wrong, but it doesn't seem like it's some huge thing anymore. Yeah. If you get what I mean, it's just like they're part of the town. They're part of us. They're one of us now, aren't they? That I suppose the most mind blowing thing for me on a personal point of view, and it's going to be, I'm going to take this to the grave as well, as the promotion season, the National League promotion season. Me, you, Neil had the privilege to, work that game, and we were on the pitch for the trophy presentation, weren't we? That was, looking back, that was. I get tearful thinking about it, being on the pitch, walking around with the players and seeing the fans from the stand. That's something that will live with me forever, I think. What a unique way to celebrate that. And that is going to be our most important promotion in history, isn't it?
Oh, it was insane, wasn't it? I'm just, for those of you on the video, holding a picture of us with Bob and Brian. I remember joining them. That was quite something. That was. I mean, yeah, it's astonishing, isn't it? I think in a way you've hit the nail on the head as well in terms of the effect this has had on Wrexham as a place.
Yeah,
because we've gone from a place which was a bit low in self-esteem, probably, seeing as all our businesses, all our industries were getting shut down in the 80s, and, that our image was of, people selling drugs in the bus station and that sort of stuff, to a place where it feels normal that people like Channing Tatum, Robin Ryan, Paul Rudd, who was, as far as I can follow, didn't seem to get much attention in the turf because everyone was too focused on getting promoted that day. This is the sort of place that they hang around in. To me, that feels that you've summed it up beautifully, I think.
Yeah, and just how that it feels normal. Like, that's the crazy part. And another thing that, and this is a bit out of the blue as well, Mark. Another thing that I've really enjoyed is how fan bases from other football clubs really turned on us very quickly.
Yeah.
To the point of where I remember you'd speak to a lot of people, you go around the country and you'd say you're a Wrexham fan, like, oh, that's brilliant. Oh, that's great. Oh, they're a big club, a respected Wrexham. They should be in the Football League. To the, oh, you're just a Hollywood club. Oh, you'd be nothing without that takeover. And you know, I used to go watch Wales down in Cardiff, and you get this really patronising response from Cardiff and Swansea fans saying, oh, good old Wrexham. I look out for your results. Oh, yeah. I really like Wrexham. To now, it's a bit like they're fuming a bit because I might be a bit cocky here, and people might shoot me down in the comments, what have you. For me, it's a matter of time before we're the best side in Wales again. And we're the most spoke about Welsh side. It's just a matter of time. It might not be forever, but it's how other fan bases have now changed the perception of us. It's brilliant. It really is brilliant. It's been a cocktail of, you know, it couldn't have happened. I'm not being ridiculous, but it couldn't have happened to a better club, really, could it? I think we've really deserved it as a fan base, and I think other fan bases forget, the hardship that we've been through before this. Exactly.
Can I ask you a question? Because it is something that fascinates me. Do you think that is an online phenomenon? Because I see it online. Well, no, I don't see it online that much because I'm quite lucky. The thing that is a problem in social media, that the algorithms sort of like backing up your opinions, actually has worked nicely for me because my social media feed tends to be full of people saying nice things because, because of Ask Wrexham, let's be honest. But I'm aware, obviously, that there's all this animus towards us. And there's a bit of me thinks, is it predominantly online? When I travel around places, when I meet visiting media, when I chat to fans at away games, they actually tend to talk like you said people used to. They used to say, oh, isn't it great that it's you who got lucky? Is it more you're online, people who aren't even in our league who just want to mouth off, who are creating this,
Yeah, no, you could be right. You could be right with that, because I suppose it's the negative ones that shout the loudest, isn't it? And they're the ones that catch your eye as well. You don't ever remember the nice comments people say, but you always remember the nasty comments, don't you? So I can see where you're coming from, but I do think there's a lot of jealousy, and rightly so. We've literally got probably one of the best owners on the planet. Everything seemed to fall into place, and I just remember about 6 or 7 years ago being on the train to somewhere and talking to my mates and my brother as well. And we used to say, God, Wrexham really does have the potential to be a championship side club, and that's without Rob and Ryan. Look at the catchment area. We've always had the potential to be a big, prominent club, but now with this the American fan base and the worldwide fan base, I seriously believe now we could be big enough for the Premier League, not just the Championship. Now the way the town's got behind it, the way the international fan base has got behind it, which for me is a lot bigger than I ever thought it would be. And the way the owners have backed us as well, and Phil Parkinson and the players, it's just been the perfect cocktail, because it could have gone wrong as well, couldn't it?
Oh, it could have done, couldn't it? Yeah, but no, I think it is a phenomenon. It is fantastic. I feel, the whole thing about us having the potential to get into the Championship without the investment, I'm a little skeptical about that, simply because we've had a lot of different people who've seen it that way, but it never came close to happening, if you see what I mean. I think we needed something extraordinary to take advantage of that potential. You're 100% right. That potential is there, and it's part of why Rob and Ryan took us on because they could see
Yeah.
that this could happen. But it took that potential married with the sort of visionary way they've gone about things and their charisma and their fame, which they, as I've always said, they have converted into currency for us. Needed all those things to fit into place. Otherwise, it'd always be, oh, well, we could do it. But they're the ones who've unlocked it, and it's their specific approach that's done it.
Oh no, of course, yeah. As I said, yeah, and you've got to give a lot of credit to Phil Parkinson as well, and because without the playing staff and the recruitment that we've had, we wouldn't have been where we are now. And because that's the most important part of a successful football club is what's going on the pitch.
Yeah.
But yeah, the cocktail of it all, it couldn't have been any more perfect. It really even the losing. And this might sound a bit crazy to a lot of people listening. One of my favourite parts of the takeover was losing that Grimsby game.
Interesting.
In the playoff. Right, because I wasn't upset because I just thought, oh, we're just going to romp the league next year.
Yeah.
I remember we was both talking. We both said to each other, oh, it doesn't matter because we'll just win the league. Where, let's say, in comparison, the Newport games, the Luton games, where we lost in playoff semi-finals before, that felt soul-destroying, didn't it? Because it was like, how are we going to pick ourselves up from here? Can we financially recover from this? But with Rob and Ryan's back, it's like, oh yeah, we'll just add a couple more players and we'll win the league quite comfortably.
Yeah, that knowledge that we will be better next year. We just know it. That's okay. Well, it's not okay. We'd rather go up. But this is not a disaster. This is a thing that happened. 100% agree. It's interesting in a way, I think, going back to something you said before, that I think it wasn't going to go wrong. I felt, that eventually, inevitably, Rob and Ryan would make a success out of the club. But if that management appointment hadn't been the right one, it might have taken a lot longer. And that's, you see lots of people given these sorts of project managers who fail to make it work. And Parkinson's role in all of this is just astonishing, as indeed is the owner's role in making sure they brought the right guy in.
Exactly. Whoever his idea was to pick Phil Parkinson was a genius, because I think we could have gone for that more glamorous approach where we could have got like an ex-player, like, I don't know, like a Wayne Rooney or something, couldn't we?
Yeah.
It could have really fallen badly, but we got Phil Parkinson, who has got obviously very good knowledge of this level, and we've just gone up and up and up. And yeah, it's just been let's do a quick question. What has been your favourite game post takeover?
Isn't it lovely to say I don't know because there've been so many?
Yeah.
I find it difficult to imagine. I'm not going to say the Dover game in a way, because that was not football. That was just an incredible life experience. I think that's actually, I think I've convinced myself by putting it like that. But then Notts County, the penalty save.
Yeah, I think Notts County's got to be that. That was just. That was blockbuster. That was like two fantastic sides as well. That Notts County side were brilliant, weren't they?
Yeah.
And they got the goal just before half time. That was an excellent game of football. That was. Well, it was Boreham Wood as well. The Boreham Wood game.
I was going to say Boreham Wood, yeah.
And we forget about,
As you mentioned, the sort of personal element of it. Can I just say that Aldershot away, when Sam Dolby scored that goal, and it's just us in an empty racecourse commentating off the screen. And when Dolby scored, that was a proper going nuts moment. That was, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, that's up there for me as well, because we can look at this from a bit of a unique lens, because we covered a lot of the games and we did we covered games from the racecourse that weren't at the racecourse. There's not many people sitting there. There'll be no one that can say they've done that.
Yeah.
There's been so many games that, another one from great memory as well was the Newport game from last season where we first had the temp stand up, and it's just like, and we beat Newport as well, which felt like a bit of justice after them beating us in that playoff final. And there was the Cop Bill, and I was thinking, wow, this club is actually really, really going places.
Yeah.
There's too many games. There is. Oh, of course, the Coventry away game as well. That's got to be up there.
Sheffield United at home.
Sheffield United at home. Yeah. 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 This
is impossible. We're murdering our darlings here.
Another good one was Reading from this season as well, where we put goals past such a big side and looked very comfortable. At League One level. Yeah.
He couldn't lay a glove on us.
And even the Wickham game from this season as well, from home, the first home game. Look, in hindsight, God, what a result that was, wasn't it?
Little did we know, how important that was turned out to be.
Exactly, but it's hard to put into words what it's done for us as a town, and I think the main part is that 5-6 years ago, I think people look at Wrexham, it's a bit rough, yada yada. You get a lot of negative feeling from people of your own town, but now people are starting to speculate, starting to make new pubs, open new pubs. People are really trying to invest and put a little bit of a gamble on the town, where previously I don't think that would have happened. So it's an exciting place to live, Mark, and it's an exciting football club. Who knows what's going to happen for the next 4 years?
Exactly. Maybe, can you imagine if Danny DeVito comes to a game? Can you imagine that?
Right. That's what dreams are made of. I'd love to see a bingo card of celebrities to make who will come and who won't come.
Yeah, what's your wish list? Come on, wish list.
Danny DeVito. Danny DeVito.
Are you listening, Rob, Ryan? 2 Danny DeVitos, fair enough. I mean, you're saying about memorable moments. I'm walking down the side of the pitch while the cast from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia are warming down. Charlie Day warming down with Ollie Palmer. That was something, I can promise you.
To be fair, there's probably a lot of memories that I can't pluck out of my mind at this moment in time. But there's been that many great games we barely ever lose at home.
Yeah.
Where it's got to the point now where even if we have a win that wasn't quite as convincing as other times, people start complaining.
Yeah,
that just shows how far the club's gone and how high the expectation is for us now. And the sky's the limit, isn't it? Really is.
It's great fun, isn't it? Hey, we're lucky.
Yeah, we are lucky. Big game on Saturday, though, isn't it, Mark?
Oh, yeah, Northampton. I mean, I was encouraged by the Crawley game, and what I've seen of us with Smith and Rodriguez together, both in that game and the last half hour against Bolton, was, like I said, just made me think, okay, these guys have got something to offer. Not just the obvious, they will offer something very good in terms of quality, but also they offer something in terms of the way they make themselves available and how that influences the way that we play football. They are good targets to hit. The early ball is not a bad ball necessarily. It's how you play it and who you're playing it for. And Smith's movement, for example, as we saw brilliantly in the Bolton game, he offers opportunities. He suggests to players, they hit this diagonal because I'm going to be big and strong enough to run onto it and turn it into a goal. And that excites me, the possibilities that they unlock. So I want to see more of that. I was encouraged by their link-up play on Tuesday. A lot of it didn't quite come off, but you could see often what Rodriguez was looking to do, and you think, oh, that's smart.
I just really hope we get a bit more killer instinct, because I found the Crawley game quite frustrating how we got the early goal and didn't really capitalise on that. Because I think if we were 2-0 up at half-time, I think the game would have been dead. I think the way we let them back into it would have been really frustrating for Phil Parkinson. So, yeah. And look, if we're looking, let's be quite frank, I don't want to be cocky or anything, but if we are looking for automatic promotion slots, you look at Northampton, you've got to be trying to get 3 points away from home there, haven't you, really?
Yeah. I mean, we have dropped points against the lower down teams, if I can call them that, haven't we, really? I mean, we should have won at Bristol Rovers, but we didn't. We dropped points at home to Cambridge. We struggled against Peterborough. We beat them in the end, but we struggled at home against them. And there's that other team, begins with an S, can't remember exactly what. No, I can't quite bring their name to me.
Well,
even Fletcher was born there, wasn't he, or something?
Yeah, but the Shrewsbury game was a derby game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was a poor one, but we've got enough quality. I think if it clicks away from home, we'll see how the new strikers do. If it does click away from home, I can't see why we can't start putting sides away. But I'd like to have that little bit more of a killer instinct at home as well. But another quick question for you: who starts in goal on Saturday?
Oh, okay. Well, there's a part of me, the sort of, what do you do if you're a football manager inside the club? Bit of me says Howard's in possession and has done nothing wrong. But in this particular circumstance, I think that the reason Howard was brought in is because Okonkwo is a huge player for us, a huge part in our presence and our future. And he wasn't quite right after a nasty injury. He'd come back, I think, a little bit too soon with hindsight. Easy to have hindsight, of course. I wasn't making the actual decision. And he didn't look quite right. And Howard came in order to give Okonkwo a break, if you will, to sort himself out. I don't mean that in a pejorative sense, just to get himself right. But then Okonkwo plays in 2 Vertu Trophy games. He looks right now. He looks terrific. And so, harsh as it is on Howard, I think you probably put Okonkwo in. And we are maybe fortunate. I'm not speaking on his behalf, so I could be wrong, but Howard is one of the few football players who seems able, as he showed with his reaction to Ben Foster coming in, to actually look at the bigger picture and say, okay, Arthur's a great keeper, and if he's coming back in, I've done well. I've served the club by getting a win, while Arthur needed to have maybe a little bit of break out of the first team.
I 100% agree, and I think the Stevenage game, I think one of the goals, for me, it looked like he couldn't get a strong hand to it. You could tell just didn't look right.
Yeah,
I think he would have saved the first or second goal. I can't quite remember; it's a long time ago now.
Both, I think in his normal state, the first one was the one that comes out from his body. It's like he was like when a cat gets a toy and they go on their side and they try to attack it with all 4 feet. He was a little bit like it hit his stomach and his hands and legs moved, but didn't decisively control it. And then the other one was a long-range hit from the corner of the box. It was a brilliant strike, but I think normally Arthur gets something on it and makes a good save. I mean, that's what makes him excellent at this level, that he can make the saves that a lot of keepers will be beaten by.
Exactly, and I think Mark Howard this season has really played his part. Where I thought I wouldn't even thought he would have got a game. I think he's all trusty, isn't he? You put him in, you get Okonkwo out the limelight. You got to remember how young Okonkwo is for a goalkeeper as well.
Yeah,
he's a young lad. He's still got a lot of development in him. You don't want to put too much pressure to him if he's not quite right, physically or mentally. Stick Mark Howard in. He's good enough to play 90 minutes and safe pair of hands. But if Okonkwo, after these 2 Vertu Trophy games, has got his confidence back. You obviously play him because he can make saves that not many other goalkeepers can make just through his physical attributes alone, isn't it? So I'd say pick Okonkwo, but if Mark Howard plays, that's completely fine too.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. And it's lovely to have that situation where so many defensive injuries and we still are in that wonderful situation. You can't complain, can we?
You can't complain.
We need, I think Howard deserves massive praise and gratitude for what he's done for us this season, quite apart from what he's done for us previous seasons. And I also think that Okonkwo deserves recognition for his strength of character because the Stevenage game wasn't great from his perspective. And then Port Vale scored past him within 20 seconds of the next match. And you sort of felt he probably could have done better with that as well. And that could really hurt him to think, okay, I'm going to play again on Tuesday. I've got to show that I'm okay. And then 20 seconds into the game, the ball's gone past him. But
he made some good saves that game as well, didn't he?
He was superb in that game. Yeah, that's what I mean. He gets a similar situation and makes an excellent save from it. And then he makes 2 more really good saves, one of which is a really decisive, aggressive piece of goalkeeping to come out and smother a player who's one-on-one before he can get any space. And it's brave. He's going to take a hit. He knows by that happening. And he just immediately think, yeah, well done, mate. You've had a rough start to a game which is important to you, and you just put out your head and you get cracking. And that was I think a sign of proper goalkeeper's mentality. What happens in the past, I can still influence what happens next. Superb, I thought, and really resilient. I loved it.
Yeah, it's a big game on Saturday, though, isn't it? Well, I suppose we're getting to the end of the season now, where it is every game's huge now, and I think maybe it's good that Birmingham seem to be they're going to win the league, aren't they, from the looks of things? I'd be it'd be a huge shock, and I think that could be good for us if they beat all the teams around us. We've played them twice now, so I'm really excited. Hopefully 3 points for the Reds on Saturday.
That would be the plan, I reckon. And like I said, nice to be ruthless against a side that isn't having the best of runs, although they have won their last 2 matches, admittedly, and against decent teams, Huddersfield and then Mansfield away. But before then, they weren't doing so well. Was it 1 win in 10, wasn't it? So we got to hope that they can get back to their 1 win in 10 form.
I think a good convincing away performance could really, I'm not saying turn around. God, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's doldrums, but it could really step past the season to a next gear, and we could push for that automatic playoff. We're due a good result away from home.
Things are feeling positive again, aren't they? And a really confident performance like that could really cement that. You bring in 2 good new strikers, they win their first away game, then you win your second away game with them. You start thinking, all right, we're on a run, we're on to something here.
Especially because we got 3 really tough games after this as well. We got Bolton, is it Leyton Orient as well?
Yeah, Orient's Tuesday, isn't it?
Yeah, and then we have Huddersfield, don't we, Tuesday after. So it takes the pressure off us a lot if we get 6. If we can get 2 wins from the next 2 games, it hugely take the pressure off the Bolton and Huddersfield game.
Yeah, you're right. And I'm just looking at Birmingham's fixtures, and you say about them knocking points off other teams. It sort of emphasises to me the value of us doing well against Northampton, because a quick scan of that Birmingham's fixtures suggests they've essentially got games against 4 teams up the top end, although a couple of them, frankly, if they overtake us, then we'll deteriorate it a bit. And 3 of them, the most important ones for me, come quite soon. So it'd be quite nice for us to get a bit of form, because Birmingham have got the chance to knock points off other teams for us. So this Saturday, they're home to Charlton. And then a week on Tuesday, they're at home to Orient. So if we can do well against them and then Birmingham do, that'll put a hole in them. And then the Saturday after that, so that's the 1st of March, and all these games are coming up in the space of, what, just over 2 weeks. They're at home to Wycombe. So Birmingham, yeah, I agree, could do us a lot of favours, especially if next Tuesday they kind of blow it against Bradford. Although I shouldn't say that because, we've not got through our semi-final yet either. And
No, we
Bradford
haven't.
at Wembley would be more painful. So
Yeah.
still, it's 2 weeks ago we were all very concerned, and now things look a lot better for the men's and the women's teams. Let's just hope that over the weekend we can get a couple of positive results and have even more of a spring on our steps.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Hopefully a positive final whistle weekly next week, Mark.
Yeah, too right. Absolutely. And I reckon I might win a lottery. I mean, I haven't bought a lottery ticket for about, 25 years? So the chances of me pulling that one off are really going to be one in the eye for anyone who buys lottery tickets. Let's be honest. A cruel stunt by me. I don't know. We'll probably stop it there because I'm talking about me having victories over everybody else, and that's usually a good point where the conversation should stop, and I just want to darken the room for a bit. Che, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's a shame this time
Yeah.
only one of us is in the dungeon by the looks of your background, but nonetheless, it's always a pleasure catching up with you
Yeah.
about football, Che. It really is.
I've enjoyed that one, Mark.
Nice one. Okie dokie.
Nice one.
We've been Chay Long and Mark Griffiths, and this has been Final Whistle Weekly.